Every year, hundreds of thousands of pounds of public money is given to farmers to make their land more attractive to wildlife. But it seems that our money and the farmers' sweat could be targeted much more effectively. In other words, we could be getting more bugs for our bucks. Oxford University's Wildlife Conservation Research Unit has just conducted a study comparing different ways to attract insect life. It says we should concentrate our resources on planting trees in farm hedgerows. Dr. Thomas Merckx told me why trees are so important.
We believe it is due to the shelter they provide. You have to know that agricultural landscapes are very intensively managed, large fields, they're very exposed. And, well, we're warm-blooded, but many animals are, of course, cold-blooded, and they're really dependent on solar energy to warm up. And for lots of those organisms, the countryside is simply too cold. Hedges and hedgerow trees, they provide a bit of shelter in the landscape. And so that's probably the reason why we find higher abundances there.
In a time of climate change, are these hedgerow trees even more important?
Very much so. With climate change, most organisms, they are really living in a certain, what you could call a climate envelope. And of course the climate is now shifting, so everything is becoming warmer, and you see that a lot of organisms, a lot of species want to move northwards in our regions.
To cooler climates.
To cooler climates, indeed. But because the landscape is so fragmented and is so intensified, it's very difficult often for populations to move across an agricultural landscape. And what you see, what has been found, is that a lot of species are lagging behind. So they should already have been further northwards, but they can't because of the exposedness, the low landscape connectivity. And we believe that if there were more hedgerow trees in agricultural landscapes, they could function as stepping stones.
These trees at one time would have been planted by farmers, probably as a matter of course. Why don't they do that now?
So before the Second World War, it was much more a kind of extensive way of farming, and then farmers, they used firewood from those trees. Those trees were also important to provide shelter and shade for the cattle. Now everything is much more intensified, so the field sizes increased, there is much more mechanization. Those trees are not of direct use anymore to farmers, but still indirectly, we believe that having those trees is really good. They still provide shelter for a lot of organisms, and so you get a better ecosystem then.
So should the grant scheme be altered so farmers are paid to plant more big trees?
Yeah, that's what we would recommend to the government. Now there is no hedgerow tree option in the current Agri-Environment schemes, in environmental stewardship. And given the fact that we have those big responses of trees, even bigger than the response of wide field margins, we believe that the government should seriously consider taking up an option that focuses on hedgerow trees. And then we think the best way forward is to focus both on retaining the trees that are still there, but also trying to establish new trees in the landscape.
Dr. Thomas Merckx from Oxford University. Well, that's it for this morning. I'm Melanie Abbott. The producer was Alistair Cross.